Hey friends, in case you didn't know, we are actually coming up on the 7-year anniversary of the GTX 970 launching. September 18th, 2014 was the original launch date for this card, and we're here stuck in a GPU drought in 2021, so I wanted to re-examine, see, does it actually hold up with modern games? The latest titles, the latest driver updates that NVIDIA is giving to it for what was at one point the most popular gaming card on the market, and still holds a pretty decent market share. It's coming in at about 1.5% on Steam's hardware survey, whereas the most popular card, the GTX 1060, is below 10%. So it's actually still used by a remarkable amount of people, and with it being available for around $175 on average right now, I wanted to see, is it worth its money? Let's take a look at it after we talk about today's video sponsor. Today's UFD Tech video is sponsored by Honey. These days it feels like online shopping is the only thing we really do, and especially with us having special needs kid, getting everything delivered to us is really the most convenient way to do it, and that's where today's sponsor Honey comes in. It's the free browser extension that scours the internet for promo codes and automatically tests them when you're checking out. Honey is basically your online shopping best friend. Here's how it works. You get Honey on your computer for free in 2 easy clicks. Then when you're checking out on one of its 30,000 supported sites, Honey pops up and all you have to do is click apply coupons. You wait a few seconds as Honey searches for coupons for that site, and if Honey finds a working code, you'll watch the prices drop. I've been buying a lot of PC equipment on Newegg and various other websites to just kind of get UFD Tech 5.0 set up, and Honey has saved me hundreds of dollars with the promo codes it's applied. Those of you who have already installed Honey using our link have saved over $54,000 so far. And Honey supports all kinds of retailers, from tech and gaming sites to clothing brands to even food delivery. It's free and it works with whatever browser you use. So get Honey for free today by going to joinhoney.com/UFD Tech. Again, that's joinhoney.com/UFD Tech so they know I sent you. Thanks again, Honey, for sponsoring today's video. The GTX 970 was obviously a very popular card when it came out because it kind of punched above its weight class with its 1600 CUDA cores, its clock speed of around 12 to 1300 megahertz, depending on which edition you got. This one came in right around 1350 as I was benchmarking it. This is the EVGA SSC model. And this is actually, I think, the third time I'm benchmarking this specific card. I did a review on this card all the way back in 2015, and yet here we are again. The GTX 970, not without controversy though, even though it was popular because of the way NVIDIA allocated VRAM on this device. You only got 3.5 gigabytes of fast RAM and then half a gigabyte of slow RAM. So even though it is technically a 4 gigabyte card, it doesn't actually give you all of that 4 gigabytes in the same way. So once you start using over 3.5 gigabytes, you run into some performance bottlenecks. But are they actually that big of a deal? Well, some people thought so, which is why there was a class action lawsuit against them, and whoever bought a 970 got like a $30 payment back in the day. So let's go ahead and take a look and see how it performs in modern titles. I like to do a mix of AAA titles as well as esports titles. However, COD Warzone has changed the way that you can hook the frame rate, and so because they're implementing a new anti-cheat, the way that I capture frame rate for my benchmarks just didn't work at all. So COD Warzone completely eliminated from my benchmarking suite unless Activision Blizzard does something about how you can actually capture this stuff. I know that cheating is a big issue in COD Warzone. We'll see if they get it updated in the future. So the 970 was tested in my typical test bench, which is a Ryzen 7 5800X with 32 gigs of DDR4 3600 megahertz memory, just so that I can make sure I'm alleviating all of the CPU and RAM bottlenecks that would otherwise affect our gaming performance, and the 970 can stand alone by itself. And with this test bench plus the GPU running during gaming, we had an average power draw of roughly 300 total watts. That's for the entire system, which is roughly equivalent to the power draw that I got with an RX 580 and 70 watts more than I got with the GTX 1060. So just keep in mind that these cards tend to draw more power than the more recent, more efficient cards that have come out, and it's going to require, at least this specific model, 2 6-pin power connectors, which NVIDIA at the time recommended a 500 watt power supply, and that seems to be about where you should be sitting now today. So let's get into the video game benchmarks. I tested everything at 1080p medium settings because I was trying to hit an average of 60 FPS. We managed that in a lot of the titles I'm about to talk about. We fell short in a few AAA titles, so let's go through it. Horizon Zero Dawn, we managed 63.2 FPS, which is pretty respectable. Red Dead Redemption 2, probably because of VRAM issues that we were running into, 35.6 FPS. pretty rough there. Fortnite at 1080p medium, getting close to 144 FPS, averaging 133.6 in the round that I was able to play. Cyberpunk, you're gonna have to drop the settings on this bad boy if you want to come close to 60. We averaged 34.3 FPS on CD Projekt Red's latest beautiful title. Crysis Remastered. This thing can play Crysis. It could when it came out, and now it can when it's remastered. 67.1 FPS average. Metro Exodus, another AAA title that struggled. 37.5 FPS average here. Valorant, don't even worry about it. We were CPU bottlenecked the entire time. 425 FPS happening at 1080p medium. The Witcher 3, a game that came out after the launch of the 970. 86.5 FPS average. We're still waiting on CD Projekt Red to come out with the next gen update for that. Hopefully that might give us a little bit more to work with on the GPUs. Death Stranding came in at 82.8 FPS average. Shadow of the Tomb Raider, 71.2 FPS, which I think the original Tomb Raider reboot came out after this card? Didn't it come out in 2015? I might be mixing up timelines. Otherwise, it's really close that this card came out close to the launch of the Tomb Raider reboot. GTA 5, 112 FPS average. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, not too bad at 49.6. Dropping a few settings could yield you that 60 FPS. Borderlands 3 came in at 75 FPS average. Control, 57.4. Just need to tweak a few things in order to hit that 60 FPS average. And the latest Resident Evil game, Resident Evil Village, came in at a 92.8 FPS average. So as you can see, it's a little bit of a mixed bag. Like the more heavy hitting titles like Cyberpunk or Red Dead 2 need to have their settings drop tremendously in order for you to hit 60 FPS. But on a lot of the normal titles that are out there, like your Horizon Zero Dawns, like your Resident Evil Villages, or Assassin's Creed Valhalla, it's a lot closer. It's either over or you only have to tweak a few minor things in order to get that. So now let's go ahead and talk about whether or not you should be buying this card in 2021. And the unfortunate recommendation is yes, absolutely go ahead. It gives you some pretty decent bang for your buck. At an average price that I could find on eBay and Mercari, so these are sold listings, not what people are listing it for. You can find 970s being listed for $300. That doesn't mean people are buying it for that amount. So taking the average of the last week, seeing how much people are actually purchasing these for, I got an average price of $170, which means out of the games that I've tested, this is offering you a frames per dollar average of 8.3 FPS, which is more than the 1060 and more than the 580. So this is actually a tremendous value here in 2021, roughly around that $170 price point. I really wouldn't pay more than $180, $190 for a GTX 970 right now, just based on the entire market. Obviously, things are rapidly changing. Prices hopefully will be coming down. Maybe you can go back to getting one of these bad boys for 100 or sub 100 on a really good deal. I think that's what I ended up picking this one up for just about 18 months ago, was about $100. So actually, let me check that. Psych! Just kidding. I bought this bad boy for 80 bucks in June of 2020. So hopefully we can get back to that pricing sometime soon, because that is definitely more worth it. And this thing would be absolutely crazy good value for $80. Games haven't advanced so much that the 970 still can't keep up with them, which I don't know if that's an indictment on game developers or if it's a good thing that game developers are making like low to medium settings still really good on 7-year-old cards, but it is what it is. 970 would be an absolute buy for me at the current price point given the total market. What do you think of the 970? Do you still run one in your system? Do you have friends who still run one? Let me know what you think of it down below in the comments. If you want to see more GPU content I've done recently, you can check out the 1060 versus 580 here in 2021. The results on that surprised me just a little bit. It's changed over the last couple of years, and I'll see you in the next UFD Tech video, my friends. Cheers.